Yes.
Yes, boys.
Yes, sir.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
My name is Daniel Polsis. I've been ultra cycling the past 3 years, and I guess that's what's led me to here today.
Gaan jullie dan maar terugvat?
Taking a look at the bike setup I'll be running for the expedition, a few basics starting up front. At the top I've got a set of aero bars, giving myself different option for resting my arms, being more aerodynamic for longer periods of time. Under that I've got the Hammerhead Karoo 2 cycling GPS for navigation, giving me important stats like heart rate during the ride, how to manage myself up hills with the elevation profiles. Under that I've got my extreme light for cycling during the night, giving me sufficient light for at least 24 hours in the dark. The name 3K above sea came from the idea of starting at sea level, dipping my rear wheel in the ocean, and then cycling all the way up to the top of the Tugela Falls and dipping my front wheel in the Tugela River at 3,000 meters above sea level. The most demanding parts must have been still early on. I mean, getting used to the altitude was quite tough. At a stage I felt quite sick, wasn't sure what was going on with the body, as the legs were feeling fine, but yeah, overall I think the climate and the change in altitude caught up with me a bit. Going through Boerta's Hill in the heat was quite tough, but yeah, I think sticking to what I knew, one pedal stroke at a time. There's always extreme power in just doing one more, and to keep on pushing, staying hydrated was the key to success over here. Piggly Wiggly, our first major stop and rest spot. Here we recouped and prepared to go into the first night. I stretched some fatigued muscles and had rubbed a sore knee that had given me a problem the first 120 kilometers. We all then had a bite to eat and had a few essential rehydration supplements. As well as setting the bike up with my lights and battery pack to get me through the evening. Not sure what the Midlands weather would do, I started off in a long sleeved shirt and a fresh pair of socks. Leaving as the sun sets in between the pine wooded forests, it reminded me of my last big ride 2 weeks before, the Raki Raid 410k Everesting Challenge, and I felt at ease and knew this is where I wanted to be. The night started off great. Longer stretches of road, much cooler weather, and so much less traffic. But it was not long until we rode into our first big challenge. Lots of rain and even more wind. When the sun started rising, new energy just seemed to find the body, and was that needed and just in time. You start seeing the mountain ranges from quite a distance, but you first have to cross through the many foothills before, packed with people on their way to work and children on their way to school. Reaching Witshoek on a bicycle was an amazing experience by itself, and only marked the start of the second part of the journey. Now most of the riding had been done and followed the real objective we had in mind. Heading up Sentinel Peak, first steps to the end. Standing at base camp with winds that made the rest of the route seem much more daunting, I was in awe of how small I felt and how big the mountain stood in front of me. The hike seemed simple on paper, but doing so with a mountain bike and at some points with it strapped on my back is a completely different story. And it's not the fact that it's impossible to get a bicycle up on the mountain. A part not all of us were too happy to see, the final push as the sun started setting on us. You walk along the face of the mountain until you reach a sort of dead end to the path. A 40-meter chain ladder hangs in front of you. Yeah, so we just reached the chain ladders here behind me, 4.5k hike in, much more slow going than I anticipated. But yeah, we made it here. So far, no bumps in the road. So happy to be here, excited to get the bike strapped on and get up the face of the mountain. Yeah, very excited to reach the top. We strapped the bike to my back and I started my ascent on this first set of ladders. I think the most important thing is to just keep your eyes forward and climb. Looking over my shoulder and being able to see from where we started, I started getting this funny sense of nervousness and excitement all in one. After getting to the top of the second set, we only had to cross the plateau that leads to the Lesotho South African border. Following along the Tugela River, I could see how some parts were still frozen even though it had baked in the sun all day. Early signs of a cold night to come. As I neared the end, I could hear the faint rustle of water and knew we had reached the Tugela Falls. The last 300 meters to the waterfall. And with it also newly named the tallest waterfall in the world, meaning that we had accomplished what we set out to do 370 kilometers and 36 hours ago by dipping my front wheel in the falls.
Yes, boys!
Yes, sir!
Well done. Well
Having started cycling 3 years ago, I would never have imagined myself in this position. I'm eternally grateful to everyone and every opportunity that has led me to be able to complete such an incredible journey. And it would not have been possible without the idea Ruan had and the role each one had to play from start to finish.